Tens of thousands of striking Boeing machinists are set to vote on a new contract proposal on Wednesday, which is the same day the company is going to report third quarter results. The Boeing workers walked off the job last month. The latest deal would see employee wages rise 35% over 4 years, and it also includes thousands of dollars for bonuses and 401k contributions. Joining us now on the corporate fallout from the strike, Eric Dezenhall, Dezenhall Resources chair. And you've watched a lot of these crises at different companies over the years. Eric, are we at a moment of clarity? A lot of times that comes from a different type of crisis. But when something hits bottom, there are some telltale signs. There's a new CEO. There's an acknowledgement that money's going to have to be raised through some new offerings and maybe some asset dispositions. Not hearing quite as much from the media. That's usually a good sign if the media loses interest in a story. So are all those things indicative of a bottom?
I think that what we're seeing is really a step in the right direction. I mean, when we talked a few minutes ago, one of the things we talked about is the need to sell assets and resolve the strike. These seem to be going in the right direction. These things are part of the cocktail. And generally, when the media lose interest in play-by-play, things are very good. I mean, look, the solution to crises are usually very boring. They are things like selling assets, raising money, government intervention, getting new contracts. They're the things that are not particularly sexy. And I think that these two pending situations seem to be very good steps in the right direction.
The company sort of stabilizing and reaching a bottom is different than whether the stock hits a bottom or is actually ready to recover. And after all, there are going to be more shares outstanding. So, that's dilutive. I don't know how the public perception is going to change. I would think if wages go up, that margins could be adversely impacted, although I don't know if labor is the biggest expense at Boeing at this point. But a stable company doesn't mean the stock's headed back to, $250.
No, those are two very, very different things. I mean, I can tell you one thing, that public confidence is not encouraged by constant coverage and this kind of orgy of head rolling that seems to accompany modern crises, that the solution seems to be firing CEOs. I mean, at some point, you have to let somebody do their job, succeed or fail. And generally, I think when the public starts to become a bit bored, you have a chance to recover, as opposed for this expectation that someone's going to come along and pull a magic rabbit out of a hat.
So, and it's a constant concern for Boeing. They don't just make a product. They make something where, we need safety across the board. All U.S. companies, if you make drugs, automobiles, whatever it is. But few companies are at such a risk for a major event where, there's a huge loss of human life if there's a safety issue. And, you're still trying to have the most profitable company that you can safely have. So it's a constant fine line that Boeing has to walk.
Well, we always divide crises, at least when we teach MBA students, between the chronic and the catastrophic. The problem you have with the airline industry is the attention it gets tends to be triggered by something catastrophic. We memorialize in our brains catastrophic incidents or the potential of catastrophic incidents, whereas a drug company that makes a drug that occasionally has side effects that you anticipate, this is more episodic and chronic than it is catastrophic. But I think when you have an airplane, I think we all know what people fear, and that's what drove this into the news at the forefront at the beginning.
So it's going to be if the strike is settled, then we go back to what you're hoping for, or what you think the company is hoping for, and that's a boring. Maybe singles and doubles, get production levels up a little bit
and don't
more.
have accidents.
No accidents, no more software issues for pilots, no more doors popping off, or what was, I guess they said it wasn't a door, but none of those issues are acceptable at this point. Can Ortberg accomplish that?
Well, I mean, I certainly think that by not allowing Ortberg to accomplish it, that's not good. So at some point, you have to let a CEO give it a shot. And any safety-related crises I've ever been involved with tend to be resolved by not having those bad things happen and not having attention being driven to the company. Safety-related incidents tend to be the catalyst for further examinations of culture, of how the company is structured, and I think that'll go a long way. The only question mark I have, and I can't answer it, is whether or not the resolution of the strike will be financially doable. But that's something people who know more about finance than I do will have to answer.
But also, there were the two catastrophic events with Boeing, but then it was just a drip, 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 drip. Some things didn't even result in any actual occurrences. It was just reported, oh no, we found another, structural weakness in the fuselage. It's, how do you stop that? And how does Ortberg? I can't imagine it'd have to be a whole new culture. You'd have to.
Yeah, but new cultures take time. I mean, it's not like a new CEO comes in and says, a bad culture, go away. I think it takes time, and so the lack of cinematic episodes, plus these boring sort of managerial operational steps. I mean, these are things that are part of the cocktail that get you closer to boring your way out of the news.